People are saying gap year for the Pacers and the Celtics. Is that even a real thing? Is that even a fair word for the Achilles torn last two Eastern Conference champions? Locked on Celtics, Locked on Pacers together today to break it all down.
You are Locked On NBA Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Pacers and Locked On Celtics, crossing it over the way only Locked On can to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart because my new least favorite term will be brought up a lot today. Gap year. Ugh. The Pacers do not have Tyrese Haliburton for the entire season. He was hurt deep in the playoffs. The Celtics will not have Jason Tatum for the whole season. He was injured deep in the playoffs. They both tore their Achilles. They both wear number 0. They will both miss the whole season, and everybody says it's a gap year. Both teams had funky off seasons. Both teams are projected to be somewhere in that like 6 to 10 range in the East, and people wonder, what is this actually going to look like? I talked about maybe how the Pacers should prioritize things. John just did a show about tanking or playoffs or how the Celtics should prioritize things. We got to get to the heart of what the word gap year actually means. John, my Achilles bro, I should let you talk. I've been running my mouth for a minute and a half. Do you hate the term gap year too before we dive into the nuance of what it actually is?
Yeah. I mean, it's inescapable. I'm not of the opinion that Tatum is definitely going to miss this whole season. I will just say that, for the Pacers, Celtics fans know what I'm going to say. I do think there is a chance that Tatum is cleared to play somewhere All-Star break-ish. Just because of not just the timing of the injury, but how quickly they did the surgery, the type of surgery, all of that stuff. Like, I asked the Celtics team president at a Celtics community event within the past couple of weeks, if Jason Tatum is cleared to play during the regular season, will the team put him on the floor? And he never said he's out for the season. I know the Pacers have said Haliburton is out, but Rich Gotham, Celtics team president, said, I'll paraphrase him, that's not a question for right now. Jason is going to put us in a position. He's going to do everything he can to put us in a position to make that decision. So the Celtics themselves have not ruled out Tatum coming back. Now, what does that mean? I still think it still means, quote unquote, gap year. I think if Tatum comes back, I would love to see him come back during the regular season, honestly, because I don't want his first taste of NBA basketball after the injury to be the beginning of the following season. I want to see him. I'm almost looking at it as like a rehab for, whether it's, February or March or April. I just almost like rehab stints, get him back into like some confidence, get him back into some of the flow, then give him the summer to get himself back to, working on whatever, and then boom, hit the ground running the next year. So to answer your question, what does a gap year mean for the Celtics? I think what Boston is trying to do is find the guys in very Pacers style who can fit with Tatum and Brown and Derek White and be the greater than the sum of their parts type of team with some depth where you can go 9-10 deep. Who are the guys that, you're not going to have Porzingis back, but what lesser talent that kind of overplays what he earns, like outplays what he earns? You don't have Holiday, but what lesser talent can you get that outplays what he earns? How deep in the bench can you get? So Luka Garza, Josh Minot, like whoever you get for Anthony Simons, can Ugo Gonzalez, can Baylor Shireman step up? Like all those guys, can you get your Nemhards? Can you get your Mathurins? Can you get those types of guys? I think that's what the gap year means for the Celtics. Following a little bit of a Pacer blueprint to get the depth and quality of player that you might look at the roster and be like, okay. But then you realize when they all play together, like, oh, okay. When it's all together and they're working hard and playing the way they play, this is tough.
So I have two branches I would like to go down from this. One is that I'll get back to this. I agree with you that should be both of these teams' goals, is figuring out what, like with certainty, what of their current things will be around when the star player is back at full strength. No doubt Tatum could return next year. I'm going to use a guy that people know. He did play for the Pacers last year. Jahlil Okafor tore his Achilles in 2023. I was talking to him about it last year. He told me he could play in games after 9 months, but he did not feel like himself playing for like a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
And so that is kind of the distinction to figure out. And that's why with Tatum, I'm guessing, obviously you cover the Celtics better than me. It's like, yeah, he could come back in February. Is there a point to this? And you just made the case for the point regardless. Okay, first thing I want to talk about. I hate the term gap year. It's almost like everybody shut your eyes for 12 months, right?
Yeah.
It's a gap of a season. That's not true for the reasons that we're both talking about. There are still objectives for these teams in these seasons. One is that they're not going to suck. Like they're not going to be good. These are the last two conference champions, obviously. They're not at that level. They're not going to win. I don't. Maybe they could win a round if the playoff bracket breaks, right? But I don't think you think either of these teams are winning a playoff round, right? So, okay.
Second round exit at best for Boston, I think.
But they still are developing. They still are learning who fits with who. And Pascal Siakam and Jaylen Brown and Derek White and there's good players on these teams. Like still going to be competitive in some way. It's not a shut your eyes and skip it kind of season. There's going to be a lot learned still in new contexts. And obviously what matters is the context of the teams 2 years from now more than this year. But that's why I hate the term, because it almost is just like it implies to me like you don't have to watch, right? This doesn't matter for the goals of the team. And I get that if your sole watching sports purpose, which this sounds horrible, but whatever, is like, if they can't win a championship, I don't care. Like, yeah, okay, it's a gap year for you, whatever. That's stupid. If you enjoy watching the sport and want to understand what information the Celtics and Pacers are making their decisions on, it's still a very important season. And I'd actually argue the most fun seasons for fans are the no expectation seasons, because then all the wins are really fun and all the growth is really cool. But thing two is, I think, the important part of what these years will actually be, which is, how much do you stray from your typical identity to be as good as possible versus how much of this is developing talent that will fit when number 0 does come back for either team. And that's different for these two teams because the Pacers are younger than the Celtics, even though the Celtics are totally reinventing their roster and might even be younger next year when they talk. And so that's not a gap year. Like, that's a real season with real goals. And obviously 2 timelines is hard to blend, but that's why I've kind of come to loathe the term, because it feels like everybody just shut your eyes for 12 months. Like, that's not what this is about.
Yeah, it's not. And I think for casual fans, we're not talking, you and I right now are not talking to casual fans. This is, if you're listening to a podcast, I think you're inherently
in August, especially.
Right. If you're in middle of August listening to a podcast about the Pacers or the Celtics, you also do not think this is a gap year. But media-wise, in the greater consciousness of things, like in Boston, hey, the Red Sox have a little bit of a resurgence and
funky fun.
And like, hey, look at the Patriots. Boy, that first preseason game was good. And like, Mike Vrabel's the head coach. And so the beginning of the season, October, November, December in Boston is going to push Boston Celtics to the back, the bottom of the page, out of the newscasts, all of that stuff, which, hey, it's good for us because people who want that coverage is still going to be, this is where you get it. But it every year is important for a professional sports franchise. Either you are developing something, searching for something, or you found your team and now you're trying to win something. So for Boston and for Indy, it's almost like a weird kind of extension of the window, because the Celtics have already made all their financial moves, second apron things. Now they have this extra kind of year where there is no pressure to win a championship. Like, they didn't make a move for Porzingis that brought back the player that they thought could win. Now you can experiment a little bit more. You have a little bit more leeway. You can be wrong about a player and it doesn't matter so much. So it does take a little of the pressure off in a way. And it just gives you a little bit more time. Like, hey, all right, Luka Garza, not if it's not working, no problem. Trade deadline's still coming up. We can move him and get new guy in, and you have the rest of, a few months to see what you can do. So I do think important things happen, and, financially important things happen. Maybe the Celtics just get under the tax, and like they should probably.
I have a strong guess, John.
Yeah. But like, they are searching. They're searching. And so it is like, you're right. The term gap year it's more like gap year for, not pursuing it. We know they're not pursuing a championship. So don't think of it as that. This is like, all right, we're going to take a step back. It's an evaluation year. I think evaluation year is a better term. Term.
We need a PR manager for the term gap year to come in here and give us a better name and put a fun
sexier than evaluation year, because that's too bookish.
Make some TikTok influencers make ads about what an evaluation year is. Get it out to the people. We got to reach the young masses.
Got to short it. It's an eval.
Maybe I'll remake my thumbnail. I already made it. I'm going to change it to say evaluation year. That's just better. Coming up, what does that actually mean? What do these teams focus on? How should they balance the present and the future in the non-gap year? Yes, we have ruined the term officially. The evaluation year coming up. Before we get to that, everybody, we got to talk to you about FanDuel. August 26th, it's around the corner. That is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just those 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, whether you're eyeing a long shot division winner, is it the Colts, is it the Patriots, or if you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off August 26th, that is your moment. You can take your flyer on the MVP race. Will anyone unseat last year's champion? Is it going to be Mahomes again coming back? You can crown your champion in August or parlay some division winners and dark horses. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Days is 1 day away. FanDuel, play your game. Back here crossing it over on Locked On Celtics and Locked On Pacers, you YouTube watchers can see John much more prepared to talk about FanDuel than me as we talk about our fake gap year for the Pacers and Celtics. John, I want to talk about one thing that is a little different that actually I think helps the Pacers in this context, but is sort of relevant to both teams in this year, and that is that the Pacers are younger. And so in theory, in a season like this, it's easy to say, if you're making decisions about playing time, if you're thinking about the future, you would want to naturally give minutes to younger players. Well, the Pacers rotation is their younger players, right? Like Nembhard and Mathurin and Nesmith. Toppin's only 5 years in. He's a little older. And Isaiah Jackson and Jay Huff and Ben Shepherd and Jarris Walker are young players. Like, their whole core isn't old. I'm not saying the Celtics are an old team. They're not. But they are more veteran-y than the Pacers. And that makes it, I just think, a smidge easier for the Pacers to do that, where I feel like if the Celtics wanted to skew towards younger players getting minutes, that would actually require more decision-making or active choices. Is that a fair assessment? How would you balance that if you're running Boston?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the Celtics are trying to pry their window open just a little bit longer, right? Like, it's think of it as
Jason
the window.
On your team, you got it.
Yeah, right. It's the window that you're opening and it's just sliding down on its own. So they're just trying to like jam a book in there or a brick or something to keep it open just a little while longer before they're just like, all right, fine, shut it. Right. You have Jason Tatum, and he's 20. He's going to be 28 when he comes back. And he'll be under contract for 3 more seasons. I think 3 more seasons. What you got to figure out what works with him. I think for Boston, the Jaylen Brown question is going to be really interesting for me, because right now it seems like the plan is you have Jason, you have Jaylen, 2 All-NBA guys, and Derek White, who's obviously really good. That's your core. How do you build around that? But there's also, like, I think this year allows Jaylen Brown to be the number 1 guy, and kind of
I said the same thing about Pascal. So I'm very happy you're saying this.
So I think what Jalen can do is like he'll be 29 and he's under contract for a few more years as well. He's on the 35% max. If he can go out there and have a second team all NBA season and a legit Jalen can be the number one guy. It changes the dynamic a little bit because when Jason Tatum comes back, Jason is going to be the number one guy. And so do you trade Jalen? Do you get more for Jalen? Do you get more picks for Jalen? Or do you just keep him and be like, we've got a clear 2 number one guys and you just roll with that? It changes things. And I wonder if it changes Jalen's mind. I've said this on my podcast a few times now. I wonder if Jalen says, hey, look, I'm 29. I've got like 3 years of being this good. I need to know if I can lead a team and not have it with Jason Tatum around. I need to know if I can go do this on my own. So no hard feelings, Boston, but I need to spread my wings a little bit. What can we do? And Boston might be like, okay, sure. This will help us plan for the future. And maybe you get back the big that you're missing and you can kind of maybe have like a team that fits a little bit differently, maybe a little bit better in a way. And so this year, not just evaluating the talent around these guys, but evaluating how you want to move forward with Jason and Jalen, Jason only, or hey, let's just throw this crazy topic out. What if Jason's never the same? Do you move forward with Jalen? Like there's all of these things that you kind of need to like evaluate, for lack of a better term.
So not for trading away a star player purposes, but the last thing you said is relevant to the player 2 that you just talked about. So like odds, I don't know how good Tatum and Halbert are going to be, right? Kevin Durant is like the best case, right? And
sure.
He was maybe as good, you'd say, as he was before.
I forget that he had the Achilles injury.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So that's the hope. But it's not guarantee, right? We don't
sure.
know that.
Don't know.
And so that is the other part of Brown or Siakam or whoever being awesome, is that if they show they have more refined, better, different chops as a number one guy, that eases the pressure on player number 0 to be as good. Not that you
maybe they swap places in the hierarchy,
Not that you want that. You don't want to come back from your Achilles tear and all of a sudden someone's better than you. But like if that makes your team just as good, who cares, right? And so that's the other part of the like Pascal Siakam maybe like once, maybe has that post Kawhi leaving and Lowry leaving has been the number one guy on his team. Maybe never, right? He was on teams with other all-stars, Fred VanVleet, whatever at times. Like he is clearly that guy this year, right? Jaylen Brown, same kind of deal. He's always been Tatum's teammate, right? So it's like a new experience for them in a way that this is kind of off topic of the future versus present part, but still is relevant new information for the future of these teams as they meld their current numbers 1 and 2 players, because the dynamic between them will change, even though Tatum and Halbert are not old and they might be awesome right away when they come back. But we don't know that. No one knows that. They don't know that. And I think if you ask them with truth serum, both of them would say, yeah, it probably will be a little worse right away.
Right. Well, I think there are a couple of things that'll happen when you come back from a major injury like that, especially the Achilles. Like they both ruptured their Achilles the exact same way, taking that big load step.
Yep.
And it's a step that you take every single game, multiple times a game. And so the body will heal. I can guarantee you Tatum and Haliburton, when you look at the structure of their Achilles tendons and their legs and their feet, doctors will be like 100% healed. Everything is fine. But you then have to trust your body again.
Yes.
And trust yourself. And that's a different process, because you don't ever know how mentally you're going to recover from this stuff. You can, especially now, like you're recovering, you're working. This is the hardest part, but it's the easy part, because it's this many I don't know, calf raises. It's this many this, it's this many that. You're checking boxes, right? I'm walking, I'm going up steps. I don't have the boot anymore. You're hitting all these little targets and it's painful and it sucks, but it's like, yeah, but you're a pro athlete and this is how you're wired. Now, put the uniform on, get the ball, get the lights, put yourself back in that situation. You're like, oh, damn, last time I did this, my leg exploded. And so that's the hard part, getting out there and trusting yourself again. And we don't know how long it's going to take to not just heal, but be ready, be physically ready, get through soreness, get through all of that mental stuff. That is a very difficult part of coming back from all of this.
That first calf raise has got to be the scariest thing.
Oh my God.
The deepest breath you've ever taken in your life.
Yeah. Well, at first, like that first extension, and it's just like you're just like, hey, wiggle your toes, like just all that stuff, like just wiggle your toes. You're like, oh,
you're not even doing it to make a basketball move. You're just doing it to do it. Okay, I did it.
Yeah. Take a step without falling. Great, I can do that.
Let's talk about the focuses of these teams this year to close out this crossover. Locked On Pacers and Locked On Celtics. Back here on Locked On Celtics and Locked On Pacers, as John laughs at me for not knowing how to do this, even though I do this every single day. Thanks for making either of us your first listen today or every single day. If your favorite team is not the Pacers or Celtics, well, guess what? Your favorite NBA team has a Locked On podcast every single day. Or John and I both independently on different days host Locked On NBA, where you can hear just the latest and greatest from around the league. 2 different shows every day on that feed. So here's the other part of this that I find interesting about this upcoming, we have ruined the term, but non-gap year season for the Celtics and Pacers is like the Pacers play a certain way. They play that way because of Tyrese Haliburton, right? The Celtics play their way, the Missoula way, and Tatum is a key part of that. Like, how do they focus on a season identity-wise where they're like trying to evaluate pieces in a context that where they want to know, okay, is Luka Garza good or better? Is Bennedict Mathurin good or better? Like maybe they are, but then the following season, they're playing in a completely different context, right? So I think figuring out that focus is actually going to be kind of challenging for these teams.
This is one of the so-called silver linings, I think, for the Celtics. I love doing this crossover with you because I've been referencing the Pacers a lot.
Same with me. Same
yeah, thing. I think Rick Carlisle, when he was on the podcast recently, where he was talking about like this style is kind of where the NBA is going. I think for the Celtics, there's a potential to just say, hey, we have to play faster now. And when Jason comes back, it's not even about everybody fitting exactly the slower play with Jason Tatum at the helm. It's, hey, Jason, you can speed things up now because we play faster now. You're going to have to play faster now, make quicker decisions. So yes, you're an ISO god and you can go get your buckets from time to time. That's okay. But this pace of 96 possessions per 48 minutes, dropping down to 91 possessions per 48 minutes in the playoffs, it's not going to fly anymore. The Pacers did a great job of keeping their pace basically where it was in the regular season. They played their style, they kept it up, and wouldn't you know, 2 of the fastest, maybe the 2 fastest paced teams in the regular season were the 2 teams that were in the finals and played a hell of a finals.
Well, and as you know, as revealed on this very Locked On Celtics feed, Joe Mazzulla said the Pacers style even the year before was the hardest one they played against that whole playoff.
Absolutely. And look, Brad Stevens, when the Celtics drafted Hugo Gonzalez in the first round, Brad mentioned his cutting like 3-4 times. Brad clearly wants the Celtics to move more on offense, and they're going to have to because you don't have Holiday or Porzingis anymore. You don't have Al Horford. You have the types of guys that you're bringing in. You have to prioritize playing that style. You had to play that style in Indiana. Yes, you have Tyrese Haliburton, but also how do you get the most out of Mathurin and all of these guys? How do you get the most out of Nembhard? You move. You play fast. You make the defense be like, where the hell are these guys? And then when they make their moves, it's just like everybody's on skates. Like, of course you have to play fast and cut and be willing to shoot your shots. Like that's the style I've been wanting Boston to play, or closer to that style, knowing that you have Tatum and Jaylen Brown, big ISO guys. But I think the focus for this Celtics season this year is figuring out how to play that faster style, how to get more cutting, more movement, more full court stuff, more kick aheads, less holding of the ball, all of that stuff. So when Tatum comes in, you can be like, you also have to adjust, buddy. Like, we know you're coming back off of your injury, but we don't want you stopping, loading up, and pushing off and going. Like, just get the ball, make a move, and go. Let's just try that for a little bit. So I choose to look at this positively. The big negative thing has already happened. We can't change it. So what are the positives you can take out of what's left over? And this is one of them.
So that is similar to how I am viewing it. Obviously, the Pacers have already established the style you've described. To me, what it's about, because when I talked about it, I said, do the Pacers need to play differently? And everybody said, well, they shouldn't slow down. I said, that's not what I said. I didn't say slow down. I just mean find something new, as in, like, can Aaron Nesmith play the 4 and you play your way, right? Can you go really small? Can you play really big? Can Aaron Nesmith play the 2? Like, I'm using Nesmith as an example just because he's been more rigid with his position with this team. But, like, that is kind of what I would define as exploring, so that you're still playing differently, right? Guys are playing different role. Obviously, Andrew Nembhard's going to have a way different role this year. He's playing point guard, for Pete's sake. But like, lots of guys will be thrust into different positions. Get crazy with your lineups. Get a little bit more unique with what you're doing. Not like don't play fast, although a little slower might get you some sort of value. Not way slower, obviously. Just so that when Haliburton, or in the Celtics case, Tatum, is back, you can obviously play the way you want, which for these teams has worked. They are the reigning Eastern Conference champions back-to-back years. But you also have something else in the bag for certain games, certain matchups, certain lineups, whatever, that you didn't have before. Because even that would make you a better team if the player is worse upon return. So I think that has a lot of value too, is balancing how you're at your best playing and a little bit of new stuff along the way.
I look at it like this. All right. I think both teams should go into the season and say, what questions do we need to answer as a group? What do you have any questions about any of these players? Right. And whatever it is, just put them out there. I have this stack of index cards for a bit that I do on the show, but let's take these index cards.
They're definitely all blank, John.
They've actually got writing on.
Wow.
So you take, these are all your questions now, and you go, okay, we're answering this question about Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown this year. We're answering this question about Derek White this year. We're answering this question about, for you guys, Aaron Nesmith. And this is about TJ McConnell. And you just keep going through and be like, this is the year to answer the questions. Is whatever the question is it a positional question? Is it what's their ceiling question? Is it a financial? Is it a long-term question? Whatever it is, this is the chance to answer it. And you don't have to worry. It's tough to say this to players and people as competitive as these guys are. And I know this especially because of Joe Mazzulla's insane competitiveness. It's not about winning the games. It's about winning the answers. If you get enough of these answers right, you will win the games when they matter. So you kind of have to find a way not to worry about your overall record and all this stuff. Just find all of these answers, as many of these answers as you can this year. And then you take those into next year and you apply them. That's the only way to approach this. You can't come out of this season with a bunch of questions about the guys on your team and how they fit and all. If you end the season with like, I still don't know about this guy, I still don't know about that guy, then you have failed this season and you have wasted this opportunity.
I totally agree. I think these teams are pretty much in lockstep about knowing what's ahead, but you never know what's ahead. Uncharted waters when your best player tears his Achilles in the playoffs. The Celtics, I guess, advantage is that it happened a month and a couple days earlier. Alas, is that good? Is that bad? Their season ended earlier as a result. John, this was great. Locked On Pacers listeners, where can they find you and the things you say about The no longer reigning Eastern Conference champions, Boston Celtics.
Yeah, obviously Locked On Celtics podcast. Written words at Boston Sports Journal, obviously on Twitter /X, John_Karalis, and johnkaralis.com on Blue Sky, whatever that is. Just search my name.
You've joined us in the sky. Welcome. We're glad to have you.
I like it there.
It's very nice. People are very nice. I'm at Tony R. East on both of those places for your Celtics people. If you would like to listen to another team navigate a gap year all season, Locked On Pacers will be the place for you. Wherever you're listening to Locked On Celtics, you can find me there too. This was wonderful. We'll both be back on our respective feeds very soon with more off-season content about the Celtics or Pacers. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you very soon.